There was a certain amount of theatre around all of this, so how seriously should we take what is happening?
I mean, look, there was no chance that Zuckerberg was ever going to turn up. The way this was convened was jointly chaired by Canadian and UK select committees in the UK Parliament, but we also had representatives from Belgium, France, Argentina, Brazil, Singapore. You know, they claimed that in total they represent the interests of 400 million people. Now, the thing is, Zuckerberg himself is never going to turn up because the format is such that you can really be held accountable here. They already had in the UK Parliament the CTO of Facebook, Mike Schroepfer, earlier this year, and he then at various junctures said, I can't answer that question, let me get back to you. Got back to them in writing. The argument from the parliamentarians then was, well, we didn't have a real answer. We need someone who can answer the questions, and we think that person is Mark Zuckerberg. The person who did turn up was Richard Allen, the head of their EU lobbying organisation. He couldn't answer the questions either. So I think we kind of know very little more heading into it than we knew, coming out of it, than we knew heading into it.
In 3 words, how would you sum up Facebook's strategy right now? I
mean, I will pinch it from the New York Times. Their headline was deny, delay and deflect. And frankly, that seems to be what he was doing. And the Canadian chair raised that very point that, you know, we'll get back to you later. No, that reporting is inaccurate. Or I'm not entirely sure, I don't know. That's delaying, denying and deflecting. So, you know, it seems to be they're not doing themselves any favours in changing the narrative.
What can lawmakers do, Alex? What teeth does this committee have?
Well, so this committee in and of itself has very little power. Individually, each of these lawmakers might have some clout back home. A lot of them would chair people of their respective committees of this nature. The UK one, what its role is fundamentally, is to oversee the ministry responsible for digital, culture, media and sport. Now, that means that they can then lean on those bodies to regulate Facebook and indeed other web platforms more effectively. In Singapore, we know there's legislation coming in, similar measures coming in Belgium, France and elsewhere. And so these people, these elected officials, they then go back to their home countries and it informs the legislation they come up with.
What about public opinion? Is this doing anything on the streets of London and in broader Britain to have people say, well, maybe we should delete Facebook or, you know, limit our use of it?
I don't think so, and frankly, this is one of the reasons why they don't put Zuckerberg up for this sort of thing. It's because if Zuckerberg is there, then it makes headlines in the newspapers the next day. The fact is, the guy today, Richard Allen, is not a big name, and so is not a photograph that you can plaster on the front page of newspapers all around the world. If Zuckerberg turns up, then it really brings the issue home, and it does start having an impact, and it does seep into the popular consciousness.
I spoke to Commissioner Vestager about 20 minutes ago. She says that more tech regulation is inevitable. Presumably, though, the strategy that Facebook is carrying out at the moment, does that delay that regulation coming, or does it accelerate that regulation coming? Because presumably there's a short-term gain, but is there a long-term loss here?
So actually, the thing that was really interesting is they accept regulation, but they are trying to focus it on one very discrete part of their business, namely political ads. They say that's been the problem here, that elections have been influenced by lack of accountability in terms of who's putting content into the platform and who's paying for what ads. What they don't want is a broader antitrust debate about the breakup of Facebook as a whole.